maintained and sustained by a central energy that originates from essence and expresses itself according to a rhythm. Basic breathing. All living things and forms on the earth receive support from the sky, which radiates energy in the form of heat and allows expansion and growth. This energy enables us to live. Though we cannot see it and it remains unknown, it constitutes the vital force and conscience of human beings, animals, and vegetables. In humans, this energy concentrates in vertical centers along the cerebrospinal axis and then moves toward the periphery in spiral paths. Positive or negative charge that constantly interact with all the other centers. The spirals that divide and at the same time connect the center and the periphery open and close a space, creating a chamber. For forms to be created and be able to function, they require centers of energy concentrations, so that they flow can move according to defined settings, paths, and models. Otherwise, energy will run out. The movements suggested by the Biospiral method are models of ideal paths for maintaining, restoring, and increasing the consistency between these settings. The cosmos breathes. With inhalation, the spirit contracts, concentrates, and creates. A turns inward and winds into matter. With exhalation, matter expands, evolves, and unwinds into spirit. When we consciously participate in this perpetual dance, we become the non-active controller of this pulse. Wu-wei. With awareness, we inhale, then, exhaling, we expand out consciousness. Exhaling is the return to the original impulse. Everything participates in this impulse, from cells to the rhythmic pulsation of the galaxies, from the opening and closing of the Tai Chi movements and the recurrence of our experience through life to the circulation of the most subtle energies. Every spiral stands for a cycle in the development of the whole, and since every part is part of the whole, the end will be merely a beginning. Considering moments in this way, changes correspond to the union of different evolutionary stages. Death is thus like an intersection that allows rebirth in a subsequent state. Man lives and dies between these two eternities. In execution of moments of Tai Chi and Biospiral, students trace spirals around the body's axis to represent the movements of the cosmos, planets, atoms, galaxies, and electrons with their resonant chamber, and through these movements take part to the great dance. Referring to their center, they create an immobile point inside their body and bring the universe back to life. Despite this enormous energy reserve, nature could not constantly expand without returning to its center. The cycles that define the seasons, period of rest, reawakening, and change depend on this incessant return. Biological rhythm have a genetic origin. Rhythmicity and the capacity to oscillate not only in the human species, but in all manifestation of life, are a fundamental property of living matter and its elementary unit, the cell. Even though this rhythm originates from inside, the external environment has a fundamental influence on organisms in terms of synchronizing them and regulating their phases. Think of the billions and billions of cells that make up the human physical structures, all working together in an harmonious and consistent manner. Whether this energy comes from the soul, or whether it is mental, emotional, or physical, it is always manifested in periods, cycles, and moving waves that follow a spiral course. Energy concentrated in a center of a field or resonance chamber is characterized by a vibration, vital and radiating elasticity and it expands in an harmoniously balanced manner, following specific spiral-shaped orbits. As the particles that made up the flow expand toward the outer limit, they lose energy in proportion to the distance that separates them from the center. The vortices of energy from which biospirals separate, whether they are made up of particle waves, molecules, atoms, or individual units, form their own reality in space, a field. The resistance of space is felt on the surface of these fields, a force that tightens around them and slows their energy flow, creating surface tension. It is this process that causes external surfaces and the hardest covering to be formed. The Earth's crust, the skull, the layer around magnetic fields, the shell of a snail or a conch, etc., etc. Their function is to protect and limit the internal magnetic field, to contain the spinning spiral's tendency to expand and help transform its polarity.